TSN's Salim Valji alongside Pierre LeBrun, and there's a possibility, Pierre, that the Stanley Cup will be awarded tonight here at Rogers Arena. What do you think is the Conn Smythe conversation? You had a great piece in The Athletic. Who's your favorite so far?
Well, we know one thing. The Cup's going to be in the building for the first time, but now it's a question of whether it comes out of its case tonight. I think there's a very compelling and tight race between Sergei Bobrovsky and Aleksander Barkov. I reached out to Jonathan Marchesso for that piece I wrote in The Athletic, and I asked last year's Conn Smythe Trophy winner to break down the candidates, and he was really good about it. His pick is Barkov. Of course, he played with him during his time in Florida, and he just finds that he's had an unbelievable playoff at both ends of the ice, and that would be his pick. But he did say about Sergei Bobrovsky that, Bobrovsky's dedication to his craft on and off the ice always left an impression on Marchesso when he was with him in Columbus briefly. So apparently Jonathan Marchesso played for everyone. But to me, the voters, and I'm part of the Conn Smythe committee, there's 18 of us that vote on it for the PHWA. I think it's going to be one of the closest voting tallies in the history of the Conn Smythe if the Panthers win tonight. Because I think between Barkov and Bobrovsky, you can make a really compelling case. And I think you have to mention as a third candidate, Gustav Forsling plays the most minutes on this team, the hard matchup minutes, and he's had a terrific playoff. But it really comes down to the first two guys.
Well, we differ a little bit on that. I would love to see Bobrovsky win. 4 goals allowed so far through just 3 games. And even the narrative that this guy was once considered untradeable, Pierre, and all of a sudden he's building a Hall of Fame career. And he might just be one of the best goalies of his generation, which is kind of shocking to believe given his struggles earlier in Columbus and Philadelphia. And even Matthew Tkachuk and Kyle Okposo talked about his dedication, how this isn't a fluke that Bobrovsky is making these acrobatic saves on Connor McDavid during this playoff series. And obviously, Pierre, the Edmonton Oilers are down 3-0. And they spoke today a little bit about Duncan Keith's impact on the group. He had a speech, but Brett Kulak had a pretty interesting conversation with another former veteran NHLer, and it was perhaps a little bit of an inspiration as well.
Yeah, Mark Stewart talking to Brett Kulak about, unfortunately, being on the wrong end of that 2010 series, Boston-Philly, where the Bruins were up 3-0, and the Flyers came all the way back to win that one. And, we've had a couple of modern-day comebacks. You had that one, and you had the one that I covered in 2014, L.A. coming all the way back from 3-0 down over San Jose. So it can happen. And I think the fact we've had a couple of modern-day examples is a reflection of the parity in the game. The salary cap has created such a close league where there's not a lot, separating these teams. And I think, Connor Brown said today, if any team can do it in the league, we believe it's us. And I think they believe that. I think they have to believe that. But let's see some offense from the Oilers first before we can believe they can reel off 4 wins in a row.
For sure, and one thing that Kulak did point out is that despite Hollywood making these types of speeches a little bit bigger than they are, and I mentioned Al Pacino on Any Given Sunday, he calmed me down and said, look, they're not nearly as dramatic as you think they are. They're more quiet and calming talks. So it turns out that Hollywood isn't exactly correct all the time when it comes to those inspirational speeches, as the Oilers try and stave off elimination at home here on Saturday night.